Good evening and welcome to the business meeting of the Florence City Council. Please stand. We pray for the wisdom to make decisions that are beneficial to the people represented here. Empower us to speak honestly, reflect wisely, and vote with integrity. We seek your guidance tonight. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Wingo? Present. Ms. Chambers?
Here.
Mr. Wynn?
Here.
Ms. Whalen? Here. Mr. Snyder?
Present.
Ms. Cable? Mayor, we have a quorum.
We do have for your consideration approval of the minutes of the special meeting, September 16th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Schneider, second by Mr. Wynn. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, I'd like to call on Chief Mallory for special recognition from the Florence Police Department.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, we are here to present a Distinguished Service Award. Typically, this award goes to an officer who distinguishes themselves by demonstrating exceptional service, which brings credit upon themselves and/or the Florence Police Department. The service cited must be of such exceptional character that it contributed to, in significant measure, to the success of a major endeavor. Tonight's award is a little different in that it's not being awarded to an individual officer, but tonight it's being awarded to an entire family. Officer Mike Stanland and his family. Officer Stanland, could you come up? Mr. Parham. Hold that for me, please. In October of 2024, Officer Michael Stanland and Corporal Kelly Chapman responded to a call at the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Not to get into the specifics of the call, it involved a child whom the Cabinet was seeking placement for. At one point during the interaction, a staff member jokingly said to Officer Stanland, "You could take the child home." That comment sparked a life-changing decision. Demonstrating remarkable compassion, Officer Stanland contacted his wife, Tessa, to discuss the possibility. They both agreed that this was something they were being called to do and decided to open their home to this child. What was intended to be a temporary placement, a few days to maybe a couple months, turned into something much more. Nearly a year later, the child remains in the loving care of the Stanland family, who are now an official foster family. So the award reads as, in October of 2024, Officer Michael Stanland and his family exemplified a profound act of compassion and selflessness by opening their home to a young child in need. Guided by their strong morals and their faith, the Stanland family embraced this opportunity to make a difference in the child's life. What began as a temporary placement has evolved into a life-changing experience for everyone involved. The Florence Police Department is proud to recognize Officer Stanland and his family for their extraordinary kindness, generosity, and unwavering commitment to the well-being of others. So please show your appreciation to the Stanland family. With this award, we also present a pin that Officer Stanland can wear on his uniform. It's a Distinguished Service pin as well.
Just a little something.
All right.
I think the Lord has a strange sense of humor. few months before this actually happened, we were saying prayers at nighttime, and my son said that he would like to be a big brother in his prayer. And I was like, well, I've already been snipped, so there's no way possible that that's going to happen. And the Lord obviously had the last laugh, and his prayers were answered. And I tell you, the whole family has chipped in beyond what I could ever imagine, and have opened up our home, changed their lives around so that we could just show love and basically be the hands and feet of Christ. And so I would just challenge anybody, if you feel like you're led in that direction, the foster care families are in need of people to step out and do that. So thank you all very much for coming. Sorry. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, we will have a second reading of ordinance 019-2025. It's an ordinance creating and establishing for bid a non-exclusive electric franchise for the placement of facilities for the transmission, distribution, and sale of electrical energy within the public right-of-way of the City of Florence for a 20-year duration, reserving the right to impose a franchise fee in an amount up to 5% of franchisees' gross receipts per year from the franchisee's sale of electricity to electric consuming entities inside the City of Florence's corporate limits, and further providing for compliance with the relevant laws, regulations, and standards, indemnification, insurance, cancellation, or termination, and bid requirements, all effective on the date of passage. The purpose of this ordinance is to allow the city to publicly bid and award electric franchise rights to electric utility companies for a period of 20 years. This franchise will govern the placement and maintenance of equipment and facilities necessary for the transmission, distribution, and sale of electricity within the public rights of way. The ordinance will include a provision allowing City Council to impose a franchise fee of up to 5% of the franchisee's gross receipts generated from electric sales within the city boundaries, and the full text of ordinance 019-2025, including its exhibits, is available for examination in the office of the City Clerk of the City of Florence, Kentucky, 8100 Ewing Boulevard, Florence, Kentucky, during regular office hours. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Ms. Wingo?
Second.
Second by Ms. Chambers. Any discussion?
I
Ms.
think
Whalen?
I'd like maybe if Josh would just once again reiterate what this ordinance does and does not do for the people that are interested.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know when you're reading the summary, that 5% portion of it really makes it sound like that there is an increase to bills that are coming, but that's not the case. Essentially what this document is it is a bid that will go out to the electric providers, the utility providers within the City of Florence. In our municipal district, we have 2 utility companies that provide electric, and that is Owen Electric and Duke Energy. So in a lot of ways, what we're doing is bidding out them the right. They're basically leasing our right-of-way to be able to put their poles within their right-of-way and perform work. There's insurance requirements. There is a lot of protections for cities and for the energy company that's bidding it. We have protections about our tree canopy, things like that. But the one thing that I want to make sure everybody is aware of, that we will not be imposing a 5% fee. Council's made that abundantly clear, that there'll be no fee as a part of this. And the next steps with it, assuming that council will approve it, is that it will go to bid, and there's a bid period that starts, it has to be bid between 7 and 21 days, so I'll probably get with Melissa sometime next week. We'll get that bid, we'll get the responses back from Duke and Owen Electric, and then it will come back before council in a contract format. And they will have discussions on approving that franchise via municipal order.
Is there any other questions? Yes,
No, I just want to also reiterate that we have existing contracts
Yes.
with Owen Electric and Duke Energy at this point in time, but we're required to rebid them periodically because they're for a certain period of time, and once that time is up, we have to bid them again.
That's it.
Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Wingo?
Yes?
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Wynn?
Yes.
Ms. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor, motion passes 5-0.
For your consideration is ordinance O 20-2025. It's an ordinance relating to the levying of a tax upon real estate and personal property in the city of Florence, Kentucky, levying a tax on all franchisees taxable within the city of Florence, Kentucky, specifying payment dates, discounts, and penalties for the franchise tax on financial institutions measured by the deposits in the institutions located within the city, and levying a special tax for the payment of current service costs for police and firemen in the county employees' retirement system. This is the ordinance by which the city establishes tax rates and levies annual taxes. The basic tax levied for general fund purposes is a tax of 18 7/10 per $100 of value on real property, and a tax of 23 9/10 per $100 of value on personal property, except for motor vehicles and watercraft, upon all franchises taxable by the city. In addition, this ordinance levies a tax in the amount of 4 4/10 cents, .044 per $100 of value upon all real and personal property except for motor vehicles and watercraft, and upon all franchises taxable by the city for the purpose of payment of the city's obligation for current service costs for police and firemen in the county employees' retirement system. All of the above-mentioned taxes are due and payable upon final passage and publication of this ordinance. A discount of 2% is allowed for any such taxes paid in full by November 1st, 2025. Any such taxes remaining unpaid after January 1st, 2026 are subject to a penalty of 12% plus interest on the amount unpaid at the rate of 12% per annum from January 1, 2026 until paid. This ordinance also establishes a franchise tax in the amount of 25 thousandths of 1%, that's .025%, on all financial institutions measured by deposits in such institutions located in the city. This tax was levied by ordinance number 01896 pursuant to the Bank Franchise and Local Deposit Tax Act. It's KRS 136.575. A 2% discount is allowed against this tax on bank deposits if paid before December 31st, 2025. Any such taxes paid after January 31st, 2026 will be subject to a penalty of 12% plus interest in the unpaid amount at the rate of 12% per annum from January 31st, 2026 until paid. This ordinance establishes corresponding due dates, discounts, and penalties for subsequent years. Is there a motion to approve?
So?
Ms.
Second.
Whalen, second by Ms. Wingo. Any discussion? Ms. Whalen?
We had our public hearing, we had our first reading. I guess I would just ask that maybe Jason or you, someone does discuss that this is an overall decrease in the overall tax rate and what that might mean to our residents.
Sure. So the overall decrease comes from the city's decreasing of the special assessment on hazardous employees' retirement. So that assessment goes from 0.55 to 0.44. When added, that 0.44, so 4 4/10 cents per $100 of value, when that amount is added to the real property and the tangible property tax rates, you get the total real property for $2.31 and the total tangible of $2.83. So that total real property rate of $2.31 represents a 3% decrease versus last year's real property tax total of $2.38 per 1,000 in assessed value. So that's .238 and $100 of assessed value. That's a lot of numbers, but that's kind of the math on how this works out. And what that means for the taxpayer is that based on last year's tax bill, the average taxpayer in the city of Florence will pay around $25 less in real estate property taxes this coming year. So that's as simple as I can put it, probably. I think overall, the reasons we discussed, the proposal sort of in line with CPI at 3%, keeps us in line with our budget projection for this current fiscal year. Those are some of the reasons behind the proposal.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, Dave?
I was saying, technically, this is the second year in a row that there's been a decrease, correct?
Correct. Thank you for pointing that out. Anyone else? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Wingo?
Yes.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Wynn?
Yes.
Ms. Whalen? Yes. Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor, motion passes 5-0.
I just wanted to speak to what council just did here. This is real important work that they do. As mayor, it's always rewarding to work together as a team, city staff, department heads, council. We are dedicated to transparent and conservative fiscal management of our city, and that's really of paramount importance to us. The past budget cycle, my administration presented to council a budget that projected for only a modest increase in revenues. Due to historical trends, the city needs, and sound money management, council was able to embrace a 3% reduction in the total property tax rate this year. This is the second year in a row that council has been able to deliver property tax rates that have decreased. So it's for a total of 6% over the last 2 years. You would have to go back to 2003 and 2004 to find another successive 2-year period of property tax rate cuts. This is a joint effort. Council adopted a conservative spending plan through the budgeting process, and due to their deliberate and thoughtful actions tonight, our residents are the recipient of tax relief. American families are desperate for any reduction in their cost of living, and property tax cut can provide substantial relief and empower the American dream of home ownership. I express my sincere thanks to council for taking this important vote tonight. This adjustment will be reflected on your upcoming tax bills that will be sent near the 1st of October. Next, we have first reading of ordinance 021-2025. It's an ordinance adopting and approving a change of concept development plan in a commercial 2 plan development zone for an approximate 1.0 acre site located at 8748 US 42 and being located at the northeast corner of the intersection of US 42 with Farmview Drive, Florence, Kentucky, to allow modifications to conditions imposed through a previous concept development plan. This is the Bank of America project. The effect of this ordinance is to allow a change of concept development plan in Commercial 2 Plan Development Zone for an approximate 1.0 acre site located at 8748 US 42 and located at the northeast corner of the intersection of US 42 with Farmview Drive, to allow modifications to conditions imposed with previous concept development. The full text of ordinance 021-2025, including its exhibits, is available for examination in the office of the city clerk, City of Florence, Kentucky, 8100 Ewing Boulevard, Florence, Kentucky, during regular office hours. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Wynn?
Second.
Second, Ms. Wingo. Any discussion?
So is this the,
Ms. Whalen? This is the Bank of America.
the Bank of America parcel? Okay.
Ms. Wingo, do you have anything you want to add from the Planning and Zoning Committee?
I just wanted to say that this has been reviewed. We presented it at our last meeting here to council, the project. There were some minor changes to the concept development plan for the bank to go in that site as far as the structure of the building, just a couple tweaks that were made to that. It wasn't any major change that was being made. It was roof structure, that kind of thing, signage. Other than that, that's all. That's what that was.
Mr. Nguyen, did you have anything to add? No, ma'am. All right, anyone else? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Wingo?
Yes.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Nguyen?
Yes.
Ms. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor, motion passes 5-0.
Next, we have for your consideration a municipal order, that's MO 12-2025. It's a municipal order approving the reappointment of Jeffrey P. Koenig to the Boone Florence Commission as an appointee of the City of Florence, Kentucky for a 4-year term. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Nguyen, second by Ms. Whalen. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Wingo?
Yes.
Ms. Chambers?
Yes.
Mr. Nguyen?
Yes.
Ms. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mayor, motion passes 5-0.
I did want to give an update. Ms. Chambers had thoughtfully asked about the residency status for Mr. Koenig. Come to find out that Mr. Bill Viox, a citizen of the resident of the City of Florence, is a Boone County appointee. So we do have a city resident as a county appointee. So perhaps maybe we can flip-flop them the next time. So that was good insight on your part. Thank you, Leslie. Next, we have discussion of Resolution R-25021A of the Boone County Planning Commission. This is the Wawa project, and Mr. Morgan, would you like to proceed?
Thank you. Okay, on screen, of course, I'm going to start out with a site vicinity map. We're looking at a property, of course, on the corner of US Highway 42 and Hopeful Church Road. It's a change in concept plan request to allow a Wawa gasoline station and convenience store on the 3.8 acre site that's outlined in red. Little site history to start. Back in 1985, the property was rezoned from suburban residential 2 and commercial 2 to commercial 2 plan development to allow office and retail uses in this series of buildings. In 1989, a change in concept plan was approved to allow a convenience store, gas pumps, car wash, and retail office building. That retail office building is the area highlighted in red, or circled in red, and it goes back to the 1985 plan. So that building here could be constructed on that vacant parcel today as a matter of right. And again, could have a combination of office and retail uses in there. So that is important to remember. As far as the zoning of the property, again, it's zoned commercial 2 plan development. Of course, there's adjoining properties that are residentially zoned. SR2 to the north and to the west across Hopeful Church Road is residential 1 family. Topographical map shows it's 890 feet above sea level out at 42. It does drop down to 870 feet above sea level in the northeast property corner. Aerial map, you can see the existing C-store. Also, of course, it has a restaurant, car wash. You can see the back parcel has some vegetation on it, and you can see the proximity to the residential. This is a view of the site from 42. Of course, the existing building is about 7,000 square feet. It's got a blue pantry, Snappy Tomato, Lita's, tacos. There's also, again, a car wash on the property. The fueling canopy contains 4 islands with 8 fueling locations. Of course, this is a view of the site from 42. There is a 1 right-in, right-out access point on 42. It would pretty much remain in the same location. There is a raised median with these, what I call breakaway bollards, to stop left-hand turning movements out of the site. This is looking north on Hopeful Church Road. So again, there's 2 access points that currently exist. If this Wawa goes in, these access points would be removed. And you'll see on the proposed plan that moves much further to the north. So that would get rid of those access points in close proximity to the intersection. Northern part of this site, again, this is the undeveloped portion. You can see the adjoining single-family homes on Quinn Drive. Northeast part of the site, again, houses on Quinn and Winthrop Place, and we're in this area. This would be the detention area, that low area. Joining property to the northeast is Vandalia Rental. To the southeast, this is across 42, we got Burger King and the Strip Center. The bank, U.S. Bank. Would like to point out, I'm sure everybody's aware, this is the jug handle area, so no left-hand turning movements are allowed at this intersection in any direction. To the west, across Hopeful Church Road, another Strip Center. Also to the west, single-family residential dwellings across Hopeful Church Road. Future land use map shows the site forecasted in the year 2040 as a mixture of commercial and suburban density residential uses. Suburban density residential is 4 dwelling units per acre. But would again like to call out that 1989 concept plan is still riding with the property. So this area could develop commercially. You know, if someone would come in and submit a site plan at any time, if it was consistent with that approval and the conditions. There was a public hearing the Planning Commission had back in July. One neighbor showed up and they expressed concerns about traffic, hours of operation, privacy, and property values. There's been a lot of changes made to the plans. So just yesterday, we had our second Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, and these are the revised plans that were presented yesterday. So there is a 6,372 square foot convenience store with pickup order window. Of course, the pickup order window is in this area. There's a 130 by 55 fuel canopy with 8 islands. That's 16 fueling locations. Of course, that's the canopy. There's underground fuel tanks, which is in this area. There's 53 parking spaces on site. You can see the right in, right out access point on 42. There's full access on Hopeful Church Road. There's a loading zone for truck deliveries in this area. There's a dumpster enclosure in the back of the site. There's a future EV charging area, which is this hatched area in the back parking lot. There's a stormwater management area, this big dry detention basin. The retaining wall that would separate that stormwater management area from the parking lot is this big, heavy, dark line. The maximum height of that wall is 21 feet. There's 2 freestanding signs, one located near each access point, and there's a sidewalk connection which would go to the front of the store out to the sidewalks on Hopeful Church Road. There was a traffic impact study submitted to the Planning Commission that is part of the record. It was approved by Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. Just real quickly, that traffic impact study shows 5,532 estimated trips per day. That's 2,766 inbound and outbound. During the AM peak, 506 estimated trips. During the weekday, again, that's 253 inbound and outbound. There was 430 estimated trips during the weekday PM peak. That's 215 inbound and outbound. Wawa is here if there are specific questions about traffic, so I'm just going to move on. Just some pictures near the access points. This is looking northwest on Hopeful Church Road near the access point. Again, you can see the center turn lane. View southeast on Hopeful Church Road near the property corner. These were the latest fuel truck circulation turning movements that were presented yesterday. So it's this one, if you follow the red lines, this is the movements of the fuel tanker truck coming into the site, coming around to the underground gas fuel tanks, and then exiting the site. Would like to point out with this, there is a condition which would be required, and it would basically encourage the tanker truck drivers to use the Hopeful Church Road ingress and egress point versus the 42. If you follow the blue line, this would be the turning movements for the delivery trucks that would deliver the goods for the store. So it shows it going into the loading space and then exiting the access point on Hopeful Church Road. This is the revised grading plan. Would like to call out on this yellow area is a fence that we asked for to be explored, and again, to stop noise and headlight glare. So this yellow area is already proposed. This green would be a condition. And the reason we felt that area was important was that cars exiting the site would shine back towards the residential area. And you can see that in cross-section BB, which is this one at the bottom. So it's right through this area right here. This is the parking lot. This is the fence in right here. And then you can see the headlights would shine back towards the houses, but the fence is higher than the headlights. And again, want the same thing over here. Want that fencing extended to block headlight glare from going back towards the neighbors. And if you look at this portion of the parking lot, we're also asking for a 6-foot-tall privacy fence here. So if you look at cross-section AA, here's the parking lot, here's the retaining wall, so the headlights would shine over that retaining wall and go back towards the residential area. So that 6-foot-tall fence would stop the headlights and also would reduce sound impacts from the parking lot and the loading zone. So that would be added by a condition. Would also like to point out this drawing also shows what the appearance of the retaining wall block would be. This is the landscaping plan. Again, this is preliminarily. This area shows some of the tree preservation that would take place. Again, they would get credit for any trees. These are the buffer yard planning requirements that are given on those two property lines, so they will have to meet those. So this is buffer yard C up against the residential area, and there's a 60-foot wide option, which this area with the stormwater area meets, and a 30-foot wide option back here. So it's a combination of evergreen trees and shrubs. Some other things the committee worked on, these were the original concept plan drawings. We didn't feel like these elevations met the plan development standards regarding the percentage of brick. The predominant building material is supposed to be a masonry. So we asked them if they could upgrade that, and they came back with a much higher brick percentage on all facades. We also asked them if we could revisit the gasoline canopy and the trash enclosure. So these signs typically are not allowed on the gas canopy, so they have removed them. Also with the trash enclosure, it is required by code to be a masonry enclosure. So these are the upgraded drawings that are in your packets. The other thing we wanted to look at was lighting. This fixture specifically was oriented towards the residential area. Even though the light poles and the fixtures were downcast, did not want anyone to look from their back window and see this light. So we actually had them flip the location. The other side of the driveway is now directed downwards and inwards towards the site. The overall foot candle measurement was also provided. It shows they're in compliance with code, which is 3.6 or less. The original concept plan also showed two monument signs, one near each access point. Both of them were originally proposed at 10 feet tall and approximately 64.44 square feet in area. So through conditions, we reduced the height of the one on 42 down to 8 feet tall. The sign area could stay the same. They would be permitted these 3 LED fuel pricers. This brick could be reduced down to 18 inches, again, to get the height down to 8 feet tall. The one on Hopeful Church, we did not want the gas pricers on there. We wanted it more of a directional sign. So the one on Hopeful Church Road would be reduced down to 6 feet tall and approximately 32.67 square feet in area. The Planning Commission looked at this and recommended approval back on August the 6th with these 7 conditions. I'm not going to read over them because the Planning and Zoning Committee, again, met 2 times. The latest time was yesterday, and we're recommending approval with our own conditions, so it would revise the Planning Commission's conditions in their entirety. So I'll read through those. The Planning and Zoning Committee met and is recommending the application be approved with the following conditions. First, the approval shall be based on the revised concept plan drawings that I just went through with you, and those are in a packet and in front of everyone's place. Secondly, the proposed development shall meet the minimum requirements of the zoning regulations except for the following. So these are the exceptions. The number of stacking spaces for a drive-through eating and drinking establishment. The layout should be consistent with the approved concept plans. Secondly, the number of stacking spaces for a gasoline filling station. Again, the layout needs to be consistent with the approved concept plan. 4 building-mounted signs shall be permitted on the front facade of the convenience store. The area and type of sign shall be consistent, again, with the approved concept plans. Next, the development shall be permitted a monument sign near each access point as shown on the approved concept plans. Condition number 3, the drive-through shall be for pickup only, and menu board signage shall be prohibited. Number 4, the following landscaping or buffer yard conditions shall apply to the development. First, the existing trees along Hopeful Church Road shall be protected and retained. Any tree located near or in a proposed access point shall be relocated or replaced at the discretion of the zoning administrator. Next, the applicant shall be required to submit the landscape plan to the proper utility companies and determine what landscaping will be permitted in the utility easements. Tree and shrub substitutions may be approved by the zoning administrator and the 2 street frontage buffers based on the utility company's response. Next, the final location of the required privacy fencing in the northwest property line buffer shall be determined once the major site plan application is submitted for review. The privacy fencing shall be located to minimize sound and headlight impacts on adjoining residential property owners from the development. Next, a 6-foot-tall privacy fence shall be required in the northeast buffer yard between the parking lot and retaining wall. The fence shall be constructed to minimize sound and headlight impacts on adjoining residential property owners from the development. The required fence shall not encroach into the front yard of the development. Number 5, the following signage conditions shall apply to the development. First one is menu board signage shall be prohibited. Next, a directional sign shall be provided in the vicinity of the underground fuel storage tanks directing fuel delivery trucks to use the Hopeful Church Road exit. The next, the permitted monument sign design shall correlate to one another and meet the following. That's what I just went over with you. US 42, maximum sign height of 8 feet, maximum sign area of approximately 64.44 square feet. The LED fuel price displays no more than 3 as shown on the concept plans. And again, a minimum 18-inch brick base which matches the principal building shall be required. As far as the Hopeful Church Road monument, the sign design shall follow the approved concept plan. Number 6, the EV charging area shown on the plan is not approved since details were not submitted for review. A change in concept plan application will need to be submitted and approved to allow EV charging on site. Number 7, a masonry CO2 tank enclosure shall be required if CO2 tanks are stored outside. The enclosure shall be constructed with the same masonry that is being used in the principal structure, contain solid gates, and conceal all tanks and associated wires or conduits from public view. Number 8, the following exterior speaker conditions shall apply to the property. First, exterior speaker systems on the subject property shall not be audible on adjoining properties which are residentially zoned. Secondly, fuel pump speaker systems shall be turned off between the business hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. The last condition, number 9, the applicant or future property owner shall be required to have further discussions with Kentucky Transportation Cabinet about making road improvements to Hopeful Church Road in the area which immediately adjoins the Wawa fuel station and convenience store site. Potential improvements to be discussed include, first, extending the existing concrete median and/or adding breakaway bollards to prevent left-hand turning movements into the retail center, which is directly across Hopeful Church Road from the proposed development. And secondly, restrict traffic lanes to add vehicle stacking capacity on Hopeful Church Road at the Hopeful Church Road US 42 signalized intersection. The applicant or future property owner's conversation with Kentucky Transportation Cabinet shall be documented and be provided to Boone County Planning Commission and the City of Florence at the time the major site plan application is submitted for review. The future property owner shall be required to make the road improvements which are permitted by Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. And that concludes my presentation.
Any discussion? Any questions for Todd? Ms. Wingo, did you want to speak about the committee and?
I'll just say, as you can tell by all the conditions that Mr. Morgan just went over, we spent quite a bit of time on this project, trying to get it to a point that we felt would be acceptable. A lot of things that were talked about included the traffic counts, that sort of information, and I know that they're here this evening and prepared to discuss that, so that council can be made aware of how many anticipated AM and PM trips to this site would be added to the existing traffic. Generally, it is people who are passing by anyway that are stopping in. It does increase slightly from what it is now, but I think it's fairly reasonable. They've also provided us with information on what the traffic counts would look like if the originally approved projects were built at that site. So if a strip center were to go in with restaurants and offices, what kind of traffic would that generate if that were the project that were to go in on that back part of the site? I think other than that, I think probably council members have some other questions that they like to have answered.
Anyone? Ms. Whalen?
Well, I know that our Planning and Zoning Committee spent hours on this. 2 meetings on one project is a lot. And I think probably 3.5 hours or more of meeting, not to mention the time to review things like this that we all received. So I appreciate the effort that's gone into this. It's one of those challenging projects for us to look at as residents, excuse me, and as people that drive that every day to and from. So there's always that concern. I guess one of the questions I have is, what are the hours of operation? Is it a 24-hour operation? It is, 24 hours. And then traffic, the access point that you're moving, closing everything on Hopeful Church Road down to the new construction or the new addition of the vacant lot. How does that line up with the residential across the street?
It is above it, I believe. Are you mean
I can
the
look-
houses or the neighborhood?
The street.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it's south of it, I believe.
Pretty much talking.
That new access point would be in this general area where my pointer's at.
And where is the residential street?
Down,
When,
right
There it
there.
is, okay.
Yeah, one on the right.
Yeah, the one on the right, I know, I didn't know whether we were setting ourselves up for traffic movements both ways with
Yeah.
the residents coming out of there. Everybody knows turning out of there, going left is a challenge on a good day, so.
Sure.
From the residential area onto Hopeful Church Road, or from any residential area on Hopeful Church Road left is challenging.
Right.
So that's a couple of them. I think it might be helpful, you know, all the time you all spent on this, all the things that were presented to you, the initial gut reaction that we all have when we see this kind of a project coming to the community and on a very busy road, the legalities of how this goes through the process, Todd, as far as their request to the Planning Commission, the public hearing, and what happens when it comes here and what our legal obligations are.
Yeah, basically, you're supposed to look at this in light of agreement with the comprehensive plan. I mean, that's first and foremost. And then we, like I said, we have to recognize that, in my mind, that there's an existing fueling station here, but this is an expansion into an area. It is a change to the concept plan. So like I said, I mean, we're basically looking at this in terms of agreement with the comprehensive plan and the plan development standards. And the plan development standards is what we spend a lot of time on as far as architecture and compatibility with neighboring uses, and looking at things like traffic and lighting and those kind of things.
So and maybe that might have been where Diane was going. Can you speak to if this isn't approved, or, I guess, the planning commission already voted unanimously. So how does that work, and what is needed for approval, and
Yeah, so,
to overturn a planning, maybe that's a question for Tom.
Well, I'll take it. There's a statutory deadline of November 4th. This was outlined in the memo that I sent out with this project. We moved this up a little bit on purpose in case there was any deferred action by council. That way there would be time for, additional deliberations and discussions. But what happens if this is a split vote, or, if it's 3-3, for example? What would happen in that scenario is the Boone County Planning Commission's recommendation rides. This gets approved with that condition. That's what you don't want.
I cannot break a tie on a planning and
You
zoning
cannot break a
matter.
tie on a planning and zoning. That's what you don't want, because we have spent literally 4 hours modifying, adding additional conditions, and I assure you, the project that you have now is a better project. It's safer. We've analyzed things. I know the primary concern is traffic, and I get that. When this project was first submitted, that is the first thing that I thought of. We went through this, all 300 pages of the traffic study with a fine-tooth comb. But with that, we don't own the roads. We can't legally be like, we're going to deny your traffic permit because the state's already approved it. We can't make them move the curb cut locations because those encroachment permits have already been approved by the state. So what you're really looking at is, does this project and the improvements that will be made, especially that condition that we added, will it make the corridor a little safer? And I think it will, especially with that condition. And why don't you zoom in? Let's go through that, because that probably need to, right there was a great one.
this was probably the key.
Yeah, find me a picture. Let's walk through that one.
Well, that's-
Okay,
that's
there
the
you go.
meeting.
So there's nothing in the world that drives me more nuts than if I'm on Weaver Road and I'm going over to Hopeful Church Road, and without fail, there's somebody that's going to turn left into that strip center to go to the laundromat or wherever they're going. Happens every day. There's signs up. There's been other preventive measures. There's actually a poured mountable curb in the curb cut for that center that really should only allow right in, right out, but people still make that turn. So even though this isn't necessarily directly a part of this development, one of the things that you're looking at when you're looking at modeling with traffic studies and different simulations is how traffic stacks and how it queues. I know this area, I drive by this area 3 times a day. This does stack in here, and one of the reasons it does stack is because people are making left-hand turns there, dangerous moves out of those curb cuts.
So if they're coming from US Bank or Burger King from that side,
Going over to
they're
Hopeful
going
Church.
through the intersection
It
to
takes
Hopeful
one
Church,
person to block traffic back into 42.
and they're
Happens all the
turning
time.
into Dairy Queen.
Yeah, so the condition that we add, essentially, if I can borrow the mouse,
Yeah, go ahead.
or here, get me to the slide, you took my slide away.
Oh, I thought you wanted the one with the condition.
No, I want a picture. Picture's worth
Oh, I thought-
1,000 words, Todd.
Sorry.
No, that's all right, man. Right there, okay. So you can't really see, but there's a concrete median that goes down through here. What the condition really is saying is that, let's evaluate with KYTC, can we extend this concrete median down some? And where you can't, then you transition to those yellow ballards that we see all over 18 and 42. And what that is doing is there is no way you're turning left past it unless you run over a ballard. And that should alleviate that issue. Looking at where these existing curb cuts are now, right up in here, it's way too close to the intersection. When was this built, 89? So, I guess that's why they got permitted. In 1889, the Florence looked a lot different than it does today. But pushing the curb cuts down, make it safer. You got to improve sight distance profiles. We know that traffic does stack down Hopeful Church Road, specifically in AM and PM peaks. But what we're doing also with this condition that could help with that stacking is there's going to be some restriping that could allow for additional stacking lanes down Hopeful Church Road. So we think that that is a benefit. And then also, anytime you have a project like this, and shifting gears a little bit, and you're increasing the impervious area, we always evaluate, and I know historically from working on the cruise 20 years ago, there were some downstream issues with stormwater. We took a close look at this stormwater detention facility that was constructed in 1989, and 1989 design standards are a far cry from what they are today. This thing will have a new engineer outflow box on it. It'll be detaining first flush rain events. So even though there's a little bit more impervious area, it will actually reduce some of the runoff downstream. So that's a net win for the residents that live downstream of this. With that, this traffic study gave me a migraine to go through. And since you're paying all this money to bring your team here, you might as well get up and walk us through. I think traffic is so important. I think you should walk us through kind of the comments we had back and forth. Modeling means a lot to some people, but to me, I like to know what existing traffic we're dealing with out of the site now, what your proposed development will bring, and how it's all going to work. And that's really what we've asked you to do here. So if you wouldn't mind just coming up and walking us through the traffic.
You can just tell me. Yeah, sure.
There we go. Make sure that mic's on, Melissa.
Oh, yeah.
Good afternoon, can you hear me?
Speak loud, but we can hear you.
All right. Good afternoon, Randy Wynn.
There's a pointer on the top. See this right here. Is it?
Yeah, I
does
saw it on
screen
the
eat it?
ceiling.
There it goes.
There we go.
Can't see it on the way. Let me see it on the black.
So for clarity, this is some of the additional existing traffic volume that you provided based off comments the city had back to you, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So I would like to point your attention to the bottom numbers on the screen here, the 45 and 41, and the 45 and 42. Just to define some terms, the AM and PM peak hour. So AM would be when you're going to work, for example. PM would be when you're coming home from work. Those are the times that we look at during the study that are most likely to be affected by traffic from any proposed site. For the AM peak hour, our existing site is generating about 45 trips going in and 41 trips coming out. In the PM peak hour, that would be 45 going in and 42 going out of the site. And then a majority of the trips will be considered what is called pass-by. A pass-by trip is essentially when you're going, say, from work to back home, and you're low on gas. You'll stop by a gas station, and then you'll be on your way back home. It's not a primary trip that we would consider, and it's pulled from existing traffic, not newly generated traffic. A primary trip, on the other hand, would be traffic that is newly generated because of a site. So say a Wawa does come in, and there are people that are fans of a Wawa would directly go to this Wawa compared to another gas station. If we can move on to the next slide, please. Looking at table 2 here, this is the trip generation for the proposed development that was approved back in 1985. If I can find my own cursor. There we go. Looking at the AM peak hour for this site, it is 77 trips coming in and 33 trips coming out. And then during the PM peak hour, it is 53 trips coming in and 80 trips coming out. And then if we move on to table 3, that will show the proposed Wawa trips. There we go. It's hard to see because of the line there, but that says 61 trips coming in and out during the AM peak hour and 54 trips coming in and out during the PM peak hour. So taking a look at the net trips, comparing apples to apples here, compared to the existing site as it is compared to the Wawa would generate approximately 16 more trips coming in 20 trips additionally coming out, so those are the net trips that would be generated. In the PM, that number goes down to 9 in and 12 out. And then if you compare the existing, not the existing, the proposed development that was approved back in 1985, the net trips compared to the Wawa would be 6 negative trips generated by the Wawa coming in during the AM peak hour, and 28 trips additional coming out that would be generated by the Wawa. And then looking at the PM peak hour, that would be about 1 trip coming in additionally and negative 26 trips coming out. So with the approved 1985 development, you're netting about negative trips overall compared to the proposed Wawa. Can move on to the next slide, please. So throughout the analysis, we took a look at a lot of different things. What you are seeing on your screen right now is the existing traffic volumes. These numbers are very small, so don't worry if you can't read them. But that just lays out the existing volumes that are going throughout the current roadway network. On this figure right here, this is the projected traffic volumes for the year 2026 without the proposed Wawa being built out. What we did here is we took the historical traffic volumes throughout the roadway network on Hopeful Church Road, on US 42, on Weaver, through the jug handle as well. And we took that growth, we took that historical traffic data, we modeled it, and then that spat out a growth rate which we applied throughout the roadway network to best project how traffic will grow in the upcoming years. Taking a look at this figure right here, this is how we predict that traffic would be flowing in and out of the site. Anything that is non-highlighted is the trips that would be going into the site. So as you can see at this intersection here, you can't make a left-hand turn into the site, and you can't make a left-hand turn here. So what do you have to do? You have to go right and then left and go straight here through the jug handle in order to access the site. So using existing traffic volumes, we divvied out a percentage of how many people would be coming from each direction. And then taking a look at this figure, the previous figure outlined how primary trips would enter the site, so the newly generated trips. For pass-by trips, which are pulled from the existing roadway network, they're not additional trips. They're just being, again, pulled away from the existing adjacent traffic. Those would be pulled away from the existing site traffic or the proposed site traffic, and those are outlined here. We would take away, you can't see that number, but that is a negative number, so you'd be taking away here and adding traffic turning into the site, and then same thing over here. And then anything highlighted is the outbound volumes. And then I won't get into this as much because this is basically taking the primary trip numbers, not the net trip numbers, but the numbers that we mentioned before, that 61 and the 54, and divvying it out throughout this roadway network. And then same process was used here for the pass-by trips. So again, a majority of the trips will be passed by and therefore pulled away from existing traffic, and that's why you have higher volumes of traffic here. Taking all those into consideration, what we project will go into the site, we added that on top of our projected 2026 figure without any improvements to arrive at our 2026 build condition, which shows all the major traffic volumes throughout the roadway network with the Wawa traffic in there. After this was done, capacity analysis was performed alongside queuing analysis. Capacity analysis is basically a graded scale of how well an intersection performs its job compared to the demand of traffic. So think of it as a grade scale like you would in school, A being really good, F being really poor. For the most part, all of the intersections outlined in the study, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 intersections analyzed through the study. They all range from a level of service capacity analysis, service level A to C, which is very adequate. Most jurisdictions take a look at D as being the minimum acceptable standard and above. So that is applied for both the existing condition as well as the bill condition. So no change of the capacity level of service grade in that instance. Taking a look at the queuing portion, there is a huge concern for queuing, which we do understand. That backs up all the way along Hopeful Church Road with the modification with the ballards that will hopefully alleviate most of that issue. But the major queuing concerns were not deemed critical to KYTC, and therefore they had no issue with the current queuing. Essentially, queuing is not the best right now, but with the proposed Wawa, it only increases minimally, and with the capacity demands and the grading, it really has a minimal impact onto the roadway. And again, moving because of this access drive up here, compared to these two down here, a lot better safety in terms of any vehicles turning into the site. Any vehicles coming out will also have more time to queue up and have access to the queuing onto Hopeful Church Road. I believe that should be everything, so.
Did all that make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions, I would love to answer them for you.
I don't know how many hundreds page that traffic report was, but I think we've got a glimpse into it. Ms. Whalen, did you have a comment?
So I guess my question is, this is a lot of information, and it's what you're required to do to provide us with a traffic study, and you're talking about something that was done in 1985, which was 40 years ago, projecting forward, and I guess my question is, when we get asked, what do we tell the people that live on Hopeful Church Road? What do we tell the people that drive up and down US 42, the ones that are directly impacted every day by the traffic? There's been lots of conversation about people hating the jug handle. The jug handle does what the jug handle was intended to do. If you drive it every day, you know that. It moves traffic from east to west and stops all the movements. But with everything we add and with all the additional development going on down toward Union, we're going to get asked the question, why? Why is it there? Why did you approve it? My question to you all is, what do we say? How do we tell them why this is something that came to us with a recommendation from the Planning Commission, something that our City Council committee spent hours reviewing? Nobody takes it lightly, nobody takes the traffic lightly, but that's the question we're going to get asked.
Certainly. I'm
If you
Patrick
could-
Ornament. I work for Wawa. I would say we're replacing a business with a like business. I mean, this is not foreign to the area. We are taking out a pretty old convenience store that looks old and replacing it with a top-of-market, best-in-class convenience store with really good food. And this has been analyzed as much as you can analyze it. I mean, KYTC is good with it. So, I mean, and KYTC doesn't really take it easy on us by any means, so I think we should trust them, and they do a great job, and we're reducing the number of curb cuts. I mean, certainly this is a busy intersection, there's no denying that. Great place to put a gas station. But, you know, what happens in Union, I mean, we have no control over what happens in Union, I mean, but.
We have no control over US 42.
Sure,
State
sure. But, you know, I mean, you've got 3 businesses on site today and will be reduced to 1, fewer curb cuts, a lot more landscaping, really nice building materials. You know, I think the interaction, you know, sometimes, yeah, we do a lot of these, sometimes the interaction can be frustrating. This one I think was really constructive and good and produced something better than what we started with, so, like I say, I mean, we're replacing a business with a like business, so this isn't earth-shattering by any means.
Ms. Chambers?
A few things. So help me understand that just going back to the state and discussing making changes to the roads.
Correct.
Would we then wait till those discussions have occurred and changes have been made before voting again?
That's a really good question. If I could, I would, but we can't. So we cannot impose conditions on something that we don't own. That is why the verbiage of that was written very specifically with our astute attorney standing over our shoulder while we written it. We have had conversations with KYTC. In theory, they are on board with the Ballards and the extension. They see the safety, but they have to go through a whole permitting process. The restriping plan is probably the biggest portion of that. That will take place during the major site plan review. But we can't say we're going to deny the project if this doesn't happen because we don't have control over the road. But we did have a conversation with KYTC, and they sounded like they were on board with the improvements that would be made. It's a good question.
And we're perfectly agreeable to working with KYTC, and if they allow us to do it, we'll absolutely do it.
Did you have something additional?
I do. Next, I was wondering, our fire chief, who deals with accidents in that area on a daily basis probably, or at least fairly regular, if he had any comments he would like to make about that intersection in this plan?
Typically, I do not go to the planning and zoning meetings. I actually sat through this meeting yesterday because of my concerns. And do we have an overview of that intersection, the whole intersection?
The aerial is the best.
They're looking at it now.
Yeah. As everyone knows, right down on Weaver is Station 31. So that was one of my biggest concerns because we run a lot of engines and ambulances through that intersection. But when we come through there, we'll turn right or go straight or turn to the left. So with the Ballards in the center of Hopeful Church there, I have no issues with us being able to get down through there. That was one of my biggest concerns, is how traffic would stack there. The right turn is going to be absolutely uninvolved, and the left-hand turn on the 42 will be absolutely uninvolved. So after, and that was a pretty long planning and zoning meeting. I'm not sure exactly how long they usually last, but there was a lot of discussion went on. And I left the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I really had no issues with the traffic. But I was there because of those concerns, as you have, Ms. Chambers. But I felt pretty good about it after the meeting.
There is I assume it's not a big deal, but there is a marker for Sergeant Campbell right there that would be on that property. Would that then, the city would move that, Wawa would move that, we would do a new one?
Designating that the highway for,
Yeah, we
Like
would, that's within
memorial
the
marker.
right of way, so it has a right to be there. I was not aware of that. We'll work through that, and make sure that that is appropriately placed.
and remains on site.
Yeah, it remains on site. Well, actually, let's pencil that down.
And one more
Thank you.
thing. So, to Ms. Whalen's points, I don't know if I can even say this, but just let me know if it's inappropriate. That's what you do. We have, people asking us questions, and what do we say?
Sure.
So we have people who appreciate local family-owned businesses, and that's what we have. We have some very special places right there, and very special owners of businesses that will no longer be there. So what do we say for now, this new company, Wawa? Why do we want, I was wondering if you could tell me why you would be a good addition to our community.
Certainly. I'll give you a little history on the company. Our company's based in suburban Philadelphia and was actually started by the Wood family as an iron foundry in New Jersey in the early 1800s. So we've been around a long time. before becoming president, Abraham Lincoln was actually a debt collector for the Wood family in the early part of the 1800s. And as time progressed, some of the members of the Wood family got into other industries like cotton and dairy. And around 1900, it was basically a dairy business that did milk home deliveries. As time went on, milk home deliveries kind of became a thing of the past, and they wanted to keep their dairy business going. So in the 1960s, they opened little food markets that were basically just small grocery stores, deli slicers. Very small format. But and then in the 1990s, we started selling fuel. So the food part of the business is very important and interesting. And we've got about 1,100 stores today, maybe a little over 1,100. The Midwest is a big growth area for us, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana right now. We'll employ about 40 people here. We'll invest probably $7.5 million roughly. And we are an ESOP, so the folks that work there get stock in the company. And that builds up over time and can retire very well. So that's important. They take good care of the stores, treat them like their own because they own part of it. So I suspect there's probably not 40 people employed at those businesses there today. So increase in jobs, increase in investment, better looking site, folks that can own part of the company. So it's a really good business, really well run. I mean, our customer loyalty rivals Chick-fil-A, companies like that. So people who are, there's people on the East Coast that have had weddings at Wawa's. So if that tells you anything, not something I'd personally do. There's people on the East Coast who have Wawa tattoos. Again, I don't have one of those, but it's a really good business. You've probably seen it in the news. Some of the ones we've opened in Ohio and Kentucky get a lot of fanfare about them. It's really a good thing. And our supply chains also followed us to the area. Bakery, I don't know if it's technically in the city of Florence, but Bakery Express built a new facility here in Boone County, and McLean Foods is also a big supplier of ours that's got a large facility in Boone County. So there's a lot of good that comes out of this. So.
Anyone else have any comments?
Just what would the timeline be if everything goes the way?
Sure, this would be open in the early part of 2027. And I should also mention, we don't do any franchising whatsoever. We own and operate every store we have, so this will be owned and operated by people who own part of the company. And the EV charging area Todd mentioned, I should mention that too. We are the biggest Tesla charging partner in the United States. We also work with a company called Iona, who does EV charging, and they come back in with their own application later, kind of as their business needs dictate. So, but it's a good little feature to have.
Okay. Ms. Wingo.
Mayor, I asked a question yesterday. No, not yesterday, the first meeting that we had, which ran for 3 hours. I asked them to tell me why Wawa, because I don't know anything about it. I'd never been to one, I've never seen one, I don't know anything about them. And it was really interesting to hear the conversation, and like Patrick said, it sounds like a company that has a lot of involvement from its employees. But the other thing that I found was really fascinating, I didn't understand the food aspect of it. And apparently, there are very loyal customers to the food that they serve there, to the point that they have Wawa catering, which I had no idea. But it's not something that you drive up and you order at a window, and it's all done online, electronically. You wait in a parking space, they notify you when your order is ready, you drive around, you pick it up, you go. Or you can go inside and order if you want to do it that way. But there's no tables outside. I know in some areas they may have some tables set up outside for folks to be able to, enjoy the weather or whatever, or scenery, and eat there. But that is not what this is. It's a little bit different than that. It was just pretty interesting to hear.
You're not asking for any action tonight?
No.
If it's okay, I failed to mention one thing. We also have a big community foundation that in the last 10 or 11 years has donated about $160 million in the communities that we're in. So that's one other community-oriented thing that I just flat out failed to mention. So we've got national partners like the Red Cross, the USO, and folks like that we work with, but this goes very low, like high school marching band local. If they need money, they can put in an application with the foundation and so on. So that's another big community benefit that I would suspect none of the businesses on this site are doing today.
Thank you. Okay, for the mayor's report, in partnership with Hawksworth Blood Center, City of Florence will host a community blood drive at the Florence Government Center on October 9th. The donor bus will be in the north parking lot of the Florence Government Center for appointments from 11 to 1:15 and 2:30 to 4:45. Donors will receive an L.A. de la Cruz shirt as a thank you. Details and registration are available on the city website. Registration is open for the next Safe Sitter Essentials course on October 13th. This course will run from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Cobb Gathering House located at 7200 Nature Park Drive. The $40 registration fee includes a Safe Sitter kit filled with valuable resources. Space is limited, so parents are encouraged to register early. For more information, you can contact Gianna by email at gianna.pratolini@florence-ky.gov or by phone at 859-647-5441. Fall cleanup will take place on October 13th. That's Monday through Sunday, October 19th for City of Florence residents. Drop-off is at the Public Services Maintenance Facility located at 7850 Tanners Lane. Proof of residency is required at drop-off. For more information, contact the City of Florence Public Services Department at 859-647-5416. Join us for a spooktacular evening at our Halloween Fest on Tuesday, October 28th at Thomas More Stadium, home of the Florence Yawls, from 6 to 8 p.m. The festival will feature vendors, treats for kids, and plenty of fantastic fun for the whole family. For more information, contact the Administration Department at 859-647-8177. Do not believe there is need for a closed session. So is anyone on council wish to speak?
Of course I do.
Ms. Whalen?
When you were talking about tax relief and trying to give breaks to our residents and the reduction in our real estate tax rate, I guess I would like to ask if we can discuss the insurance premium tax in the month of October. That will also give us time to have the discussions. It won't impact this year's budget because it can't take effect until after July 1, and it'll give us the ability to take a look at our spending and make some determinations at that point about where we might have to reduce spending in order to provide an insurance premium tax break to our residents. And that actually touches everybody, not just the people that own houses, but the people that have insurance policies on their cars, on their rentals, on their homes, on their businesses. All of those things receive an insurance premium tax. So I'd like to move that discussion up and have that in October.
And I do understand the concern for looking at that. Any changes that we would make with the insurance premium tax, again, as you stated, would not take place till July. We had kind of targeted, maybe after the first of the year, we have 2 department heads who are expecting babies during that time period that you want this to be talked about. So we're going to need a little bit more time because that's going to be a more in-depth, conversation. Trying to come up with insurance premium tax is about $5 million. It's about 10% of our budget. And so it's going to take more than just a few weeks to put together something on that. So we will get that to you as soon as we can get that to you.
Well, you did present us with a paper that has a lot of that information already gathered together. And
But if you're asking for cuts, we would have to really do a deep dive on the budget.
but that's won't take effect until next budget year, and the budget is put together in February and March.
It will take us some time.
So, but I would like to have that discussion as soon as possible so that we can show our good faith with our residents and the people that are paying those taxes and actually give them the opportunity to see where that reduction would be.
Anyone else on council? Any department heads? Anyone in the audience desire recognition? If you please come to the podium.
That's you, Joe.
Must be me. Well, every time I come up here, I see the
bunch of grumpy people. Nobody ever smiles. And we've got a medical breakthrough here tonight. Compliments to Todd. I've seen more people yawning when he's reading that report than any place in the world. Insomnia has been cured right here tonight, which is really wonderful. So I don't know what we do about that. I got two things. One is, you're my neighbors now, and neighbors have to get along, and you've eliminated my two-legged nomads. Everybody's paying attention now. Now we have four-legged nomads. We have 6 of them. We have 6 deer that are back in your place that's grown up. And you provided cover for them. You provided water. There's a creek that goes through there. You provided food for them to eat with the grass being mowed off. The thing that we've left out is romance. So these deers cross 42 continually. Now, that's not good for the deer's health and not good for the car's health. So if we clean that brush up, they might go in a rural area where they really belong, because the city of Florence is not a great place for deer. So I don't know whether we have people that do that or not. So that's,
I mean, I think we can start with Department of Fish and Wildlife and get some recommendations for them about how addressing the inner
It's
city
just-
deer population.
it's so overgrown that they got a great place to be.
We'll evaluate it, Joe. We still have contractors on site, don't we? Yeah.
He's been there for months.
So I was getting ready to put him a mailbox up. Yeah, you're right. So, yeah, we'll discuss it internally and follow up with you on that.
Okay, now that's off my chest, so I can sleep tonight, even though I did. So the next thing is the Florence Public Library. You guys are getting screwed. There's no way to get around it. It's being run by the granola, tofu, kale people. And you peanut butter and jelly people don't have a chance, because the library is not even open on Sunday afternoon, and all the rest of them are. 33,000 people in the city of Florence, surely there's about 4 or 5 of them want to go to the library on Sunday afternoon. You guys need to stand up. We need to get a little testicular fortitude and say, we got to get some of this stuff done. And I started my program in May, and I resigned after the last board meeting because I've got most of the things done I wanted done. We've invented a new program to eliminate people sleeping on the benches. They're putting dividers in so they can't lay down. And we put light bulbs in the lights that weren't working. We've done a lot of things, and I gave them an award. It looks sort of like an aborted fetus of a rhinoceros. And it says on there, the worst neighbor award, which I gave them, and it's the worst branch award, which they got. And if you look here, you can see on their thing, on their propaganda from the Nazi headquarters, that they're not open on Sunday afternoon. The rest of them are. The granola people, the tofu people are open, but not Florence. 33,000 people is not open. And now, more insults are planting tulip bulbs at the rest of the branches, and Florence they're not, because I guess they're afraid that people eat them. I don't know what the hell the deal is. So you're getting left out.
Well, it is a ongoing issue that dates for many years, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. We deserve a first-class library here. We deserve to have it open as much as any other branch, maybe even more than any other branch. We deserve.
Whoa. Wait a minute. My grandfather said, if you wish in one hand and pee in the other, he knows which one will fill up first. So that's what you've been working for. You need to say, we need to get something done.
So we have met as
I know
recently
you
as
did.
several weeks ago, and they're supposed to be getting back to us in October with their plan for a new library in Florence. And so we are giving them a few months to get that, and we're going to press them on it, but
You
we
need a
don't know.
representative. You need somebody on the board. The board is made up of PhD people.
We can't
Well, they're
control who
appointed.
they
They're
appoint them,
appointed.
because we don't have any seats at that board, unfortunately. It's
They're
appointed by the
But
county.
whoever appoints them, it's a puppet thing. I think of the Jim Hansen with the puppets where they stick it up the rear end, they say what they want to say. Well, whoever the puppet master is the guy calling the shots. You guys definitely aren't.
We have no control over their board.
Yeah, but we got to
We
find out
don't.
who's calling the shots. You know, on the farm, a PhD is a postholder, so I don't know what the hell those people do. So that's about all I have to say. But coming back to a local restaurant, the Letha's Tacos, I know who you're talking about. He's kind of my grandson. He adopted me. I didn't adopt him. He's black. His wife's Hispanic. One big ass happy family. But I can see why you're kind of concerned about that. Kind of concerned.
Yeah, we are working with them. We have our BRNA team meeting with them.
Yeah.
In the summer, we met
Yeah.
with them, so.
So we're working with them, and we are working closely with the library, and we have a meeting with Dr. Jackson and.
Oh, I've
and
had
Carrie
meetings
Herman.
with them too. I've had meetings with them for 120 days. And you just
That's
have
probably why
to,
we can't get nothing done. We'll
I'm
we'll
getting
meet
more
with them.
done than you are. That's the bad part about it.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
You know,
We got a
take me
meeting
with
scheduled
you.
about.
Take me with you when you go.
That
You're afraid of
is
that, aren't you?
high risk, low reward, I think. I
No,
don't know.
no. I brought my oldest daughter with me. She's my driver and bodyguard. She's here to, she's here to protect you guys, not me. That's where we're at. So
Thank you,
I don't know,
Jeff.
have I made an impact here or what?
Yes, sir.
You made us smile, Joe.
That's scary.
Yes, it is.
And we've made a medical breakthrough with Todd there. Thank you. It's good fun. Thank you.
Anyone else desire recognition? Nancy?
I love Wawa myself. We've been to a ton of them, so we really like them. I'm just curious, what happens to Lido's and Snappy? Where they go?
Well, we do have a great business climate in Florence, so we have been working with, I'd already reached out to meet with them about relocation. So we've suggested some locations for them, but until this is approved, they don't really know.
Just curious
And
more than
then
anything.
they probably have leases, and there's probably, there's a timeline, so it's not like if this was approved, they're out tomorrow.
Okay.
So
I
I'm sure
go
there'll be a
to both
transition
occasionally.
time.
Just
Yeah.
was curious what you did with them when something like that comes up. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Robert?
Hi, I'm Robert Sargent, and I live here in Florence, Kentucky. And I've heard a couple of times that back to the discussion of the intersection, that the safety of the intersection is actually going to be improving as a result of this significant change. And I guess I wanted to ask for some clarification of that, and is that something that's measurable? Are there other qualities of an intersection that also add into its viability, its credibility? I mean, if an intersection is safe, is that a good intersection? Is that the only criteria? Is there? And I'm not
Sure.
asking specifically, but
Yeah.
I'm all about safety.
Yeah.
And so that's the direction I'm coming from. Is it indeed going to be safer?
Based on the condition that we have put in there, one of the things that you will notice if you drive down Hopeful Church Road is that there's left-hand turn movements where there are not supposed to be. Actually, as long as I can remember, you're not supposed to turn left into the strip center where the laundromat is. With the condition that we put on there makes it to where you're running over stuff to get to that intersection. There are wrecks that take place there. So if you prevent that left-hand turn, naturally it will be safer.
Oh, there are some serious issues with that intersection.
Sure.
And since I've heard about our discussion, I took the liberty to drive around the Shell gas station
Yeah.
and looked at the car wash and the drive-through with the Mexican restaurant. And there's very little that's of any value in that whole area. I went down into the neighborhood, and some of the housing stock is substandard, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I'm mainly concerned about safety, and especially pedestrian safety, which I can only hope is under consideration in this project and all the other intersections in the area. I heard about the sidewalk going from the Wawa out to the street, but there are other opportunities for people to cross streets.
Sure.
And as a pedestrian, I have made efforts to cross various crosswalks in this community. Anywhere along 42 is challenging at best and dangerous at least.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I don't entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Whalen? Second by Mr. Nguyen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.